Hello, hello. Welcome to a brand new episode of Brainpickings, the podcast for HR professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders. Yes, you tuned in to the right channel, only this time we switched to English. Why? Well, because my guest suggested so. And there's a first time for everything. And come to think of it, when was the last time that you tried something for the first time? Because when was the last time when you took any risk at all? Thinking about all your first times can make you really, really proud of yourself. And my guest today is Bruce Fecheyr-Lippens. I'll bet he's really proud of himself because not so long ago, he took the leap and he became a full-time entrepreneur. I'm eager to learn about Wappy, his venture, how they aim to future-proof organizations and empower people to thrive. And I'm especially very curious to learn about his life journey and how he plans to rethink, reboot, and retool HR. Welcome, Bruce.
Welcome. Thank you, Leslie.
Everything okay with you?
Sure.
Are you ready for me to dive inside your head?
I'm curious and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Let's start with a flashback to 2017 when your journey at Solvay started. It's a huge chemical company, 25,000 employees, not really a pioneer in HR at the time. And you started there as the first head of digital, where initially you had to replace an outdated HRIS, right? So maybe tell us about your journey at Solvay. Once upon a time, how did everything kind of start over there?
Yes, and time flies. It's pretty much 4 years ago
when I
joined Solvay.
Yeah.
And indeed with a nice mission. Let's reimagine our ways of working.
Yeah.
Let's reimagine how we can do HR, ways of working for the company, big company, global company. I think looking back to it, probably one of the most fun jobs or tasks so far. And indeed, as you said, the first mission, I will never forget that, was for the last 3 years, we're trying to have a business case to get a new HR IS system through, but it never worked. Yeah. But now it will work. You will make it happen.
Because you will make it happen. Ta-da.
So I was like, okay, I will do my best. Let's see what happens. But to be really honest, the first thing I did was, let's actually show those tools to the people, not just to HR or management, but to the people.
Yeah.
And I organized a little day with, I think, about 30 people, diverse employees from Solvay, from very different areas and levels in the organization.
All over the world, from all over the world, or?
We did it pretty much, but it was most Belgium focused, but there were people coming from France and other areas, certainly. But there were workers, there was management, all these types of jobs were represented, was important. And we showed startups who were doing more innovative things with HR tools as well. We showed traditional HR systems, but most importantly, we wanted to also take the lens of, we want to reimagine ways of working. So a fool with a tool will always be a fool. So we have to make sure. True. And one person voted for the traditional HR systems. One person, And it was the HR IT person, interestingly, who is a wonderful person. Huh?
Yes.
So that was for me very eye-opening. Like, okay, maybe we actually need to do it differently.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then, so you gathered those 15 people in this studio. You actually then co-created together with them. Then, what came out of that journey that you did together with all those people?
Well, I think if I rewind back again, when we said we need to do this differently, we said, why don't we create ourselves our HR solution for a big company anyway? And indeed, we created a digital studio, which didn't exist. And I remember still on a Friday with a few other colleagues who were making our own studio within Solvay to get a different work environment. And for 3 months, we gathered 10 people from the business, from IT, from legal, from different places, also 3 external people, for 3 months to reinvent our ways of working, reinvent performance management, feedback, and answering the problems and the pain points we wanted to tackle that the people were telling us. And out of that came a solution which is now called the Wappy platform and the Wappy ways of working.
Okay, because actually there it was born. I can imagine that created a lot of energy with the people coming together, joining in that studio. That must really.
I will never. It was one of the most amazing times because you could see the spark in the eyes of the people, and it was typically an N-4 of the IT person who was there, but who finally got the empowerment and responsibility, and who became the biggest influencer of the head of IT at that point in time. There was one lady who said, "I want to be part of this," and who is literally now a bit the wing women of the new CHRO at Solvay. So the intrinsic motivation was enormous because we were working also very differently there, very empowered in an agile way, felt the full trust of the CHRO for whom I was working, and for our CEO, which was Jean-Pierre Clémadieu at that time. It wasn't Ilham Kadri yet. But it was a wonderful experience, and a lot of things came out, not just HR-wise, but for the whole company.
For the whole company,
even other departments were working in a different way, in a more agile, more empowered way, which was leading to not just engagement of people, the energy was there, but faster innovation. And in the end of the day, it helps also the business to thrive.
Yeah. So, but actually, you just had to replace the outdated system, and then this came on. Must have been really amazing, really amazing. Okay, so then 2 years later, you've been sharing that success story in various countries worldwide. You even went with Peter Hinsen, together with Peter Hinsen, to Silicon Valley to inspire entrepreneurs and professionals in new ways of working. And you seem to have filled a gap at the moment in the marketplace, which was actually the start of the spin-off Wappy, right? Now, Wappy to me is kind of a textbook example of corporate venturing. It really allowed you to learn, to understand the challenges, because you were inside a global company with a lot of employees. So you had the opportunity to test, to validate your product at a really large scale. So now here you are, big plunge, living an entrepreneurial life, together with Alice Tranchant and Christophe Stevens, the co-founders. I think lots of people listening and watching want to know, where does the name Wappy come from?
Oh, we had long brainstorms and debates about the name. Wappy comes firstly from human happy, because that's what we really stand for. Yeah. And then secondly, it's actually also a national park in Argentina, in Patagonia. And I've never been there, so hopefully one day we can go there. But if you look at pictures, it breeds simplicity, organic, and that's also what we really stand for. We want to create a more organic workplace where people can connect based on the skills, get to know each other, perhaps a little bit less traditional.
Okay.
But rewinding, it may seem like a textbook example. It wasn't a walk in the park. I would say it was a lot. It was a year-long conversations with the Solvay colleagues, and I have to thank them for giving us the trust to do that. To do a fully independent spin-off. We're 100% independent, which I think is really needed to be successessful as well, and to get the opportunity from them to do that. So that's also a big thank you to all the people involved. Certainly.
Yeah. Now, what are the problems exactly that you tackle with Wappy?
It's the problems that I observed, not just at Solvay, but also in the past 13, 14 years that I worked. It's if you ask yourself the question, what really drives you in a day-to-day? If you ask that to a lot of people, they think about it. If you then ask the question, and are you really at your best? Do you use all your strengths and skills? Are you at your full potential? There's typically a big gap. Yeah? And that's because more traditional management doesn't get the best out of people. Doesn't fully excite, energize people. And that's the problem we are solving, or we're trying to solve with Wappy.
Okay. Well, then, of course, it always starts with a why. I think you already kind of mentioned it, but your big why. You say those are the problems I want to tackle, but is there a bigger why on the horizon?
The nice thing is that my personal why and the why of Wappy are 100% aligned.
Wow.
It's really to unleash people, teams, and organizations. I think I came to that point about 10 years ago, that's the thing that gives me personally the most energy. If you see the people around you being at their best, at their full potential, and that in a way I have been able to help a little bit or contribute a little bit to that, to an individual, to a team, and then in the end of the day, the collection of that is an organization. And that drives me every day, that drives us at Wappy every day.
Okay, and I really love the word unleash. I think that there's so much in that. It kind of goes out in a very natural way, but with a flow, with lots of energy. I really love the word. So who do you support within the company with Wappy?
Yeah, there's actually three, I would say, stakeholders, if you want to say. Firstly, of course, the people. It's typically everybody. Management, HR is in the first way also an employee of the organization. And we want to empower the employees to be it themselves. That's one. Secondly, of course, HR. We help HR to take the leap there, make the move that so many of us want to actually do and try to help make that happen. And then thirdly, also management. I think management is also typically asking for a different way of working, but don't always know exactly how to do that. And that's what we try to support.
Okay. And how does it work as such? How can I imagine Wappy working in any kind of company?
Yeah. First thing is we do two things. You have the Wappy platform, but again, a fool with a tool will still always be a fool. But the platform needs to be very user-centric, simple. It's a bit like when you have an app at home that really works, like Google Maps or other things. We want to make sure we create exactly the same. And so that's why we have the luck to have been able to create that by employees, for employees, for 2 years at Solvay. And we're continuously with client panels, always evolving the platform. Always with all the clients we have now. So that's one, that's the platform. It makes it visible, it makes it sticky. But secondly, we call it our viral shift approach, not just a viral change approach. Change is typically negative connotation.
Yes.
It's more a shift from within, from the company, from the people. And we have a bit of what we call our a little sauce in how we know that through communications, videos, certain typical moments where you need to do things, need to do workshops, empowering the people. Adoption is high, people get it quickly, and we very quickly can create a snowball effect.
Okay. So how exactly, because in the end, it's always about how do you add, especially how does Wappy add or bring value to the entire company?
Well, what we hear from our customers, and we did that exercise, they summarized it in 4 points or 4 elements of value. The first one is that we can help them really create an engaging, skills-based culture.
Okay.
And that is because we have an internal LinkedIn where people can put in their skills and they can connect with each other. Secondly is retention. And also a lot of diversity and much more diversity and inclusion. So people have a profile, they have skills, they can put in their strengths, but there is a mentoring platform that helps you find your mentors very quickly yourself in an organic way. And it's nice when you hear testimonials. I didn't know I had a colleague there in the world that actually has that skill. And now we're mentor-mentee for each other. We help each other. So that's the second element. The third one is what we call and what we heard is peak performance. We bring the best out of people individually, but also for the teams. And so we have a team pulse. We have our approach to do OKRs, objective key results, but a bit in a different way. We have a very user-friendly 360 feedback feature, but only personally for the people. As a gift, it is not linked to performance management. It is not visible to others. It is for you as a gift, and to grow. To grow, exactly. It's for you to grow, but then you receive smart learning suggestions and all of that. And then fourthly, and that's really for HR and management, is workforce insights. Of course, at an aggregate level, but things like, oh wow, these are the top skills in my organization, or these are the skills that my 60 plus year people have. So that will go away. How do we make sure we don't lose those skills? So it gives you these workforce insights where you can really act upon. And at the same time, we call that the talent radar. It's a new way of doing succession planning in a more interactive, dynamic way. Also listening to what the people really aspire to do.
And it sounds a lot more attractive too, talent radar. So, but is it especially for international companies, or can smaller companies also?
It's typically it's used in I would say mid to larger companies, 500,000, 2,000, 5,000, Solvay 25,000, or even there's organizations that we're talking to who have much more, who have 100, 150,000 employees, because there, of course, people don't really know each other anymore. Yeah, but even smaller companies are also very curious and are also. I mean, we are using it within our own small company as well, of course. So, in a way, it doesn't restrict who uses it. But yes, we hear that a lot of companies that have a decent amount of size, there's of course a lot of value.
Sure, an enormous benefit, because even in a smaller company of only 50 or 100 people, it's not. I don't know the skills of everyone from my team, so I think it's kind of for everybody very practical. Now, next to the story of Wappy, of course. There's also the story of Bruce. So maybe let's dive into your own personal story. Would you consider your career path a traditional one, or would you describe it as kind of more of a zigzag career?
It's I think certainly a zigzag one. And I must confess, a couple of years ago when I listened to one of your talks when your book came out, it resonated a lot. The zigzag word. Certainly zigzag career. I started at McKinsey as a consultant, very generalist, not really knowing what I wanted to do, not working on HR topics, but on a whole different range of topics. Together with my wife, she brought me to go to New York for 3 years, which was an experience. I hit a little bit my first wall of what am I really doing? What do I really like? So I kept on working for McKinsey, but more from within for our own HR, making a change there. From that, we created an internal new product called People Insights. And then suddenly you need to manage that product and grow it. And then we had 20 people, and it was working well and it was nice. And then I was more in the end of my consulting career working on change, on agility, but also a lot on personal development of people, building high-performing teams, facilitating. That softer aspect is something I always loved to do. And then you bring the 10 HR leaders of Solvay to 3 days in New York to open their eyes. We actually visited a lot of startups. And then they asked, would you want to join us to reimagine our own ways of working? And then you say, wow, this is fun to do. Now I need to do it, not just consult on it. And then you're in that role. And then from that comes different responsibilities within Solvay. Then there's a point in time where you need to make a choice also with the Wappy venture. Let's do that. I still worked the last year also for Euroclear as the talent officer, because it's a topic close to my heart and I wanted to test myself also in a different environment. So yes, it's I think a zigzag of things, not very planned in advance.
Right. So if you look back on your life and on your career, what or maybe who were the hurdles and the accelerators? Because you always have abrupt changes in life, but they are usually triggered by external circumstances that are actually beyond of our control. So, and they force us to look back at our life. Who or what helped you to grow as a person, as a professional?
It's an interesting question. I think hurdles, it's a lot of fears. Fear sometimes of making another choice, and then fear of missing out something. Fear of letting go ego. Fear of financial stability. There's a lot of fears that I think sometimes encountered, even though I am somebody who has been born with the luck of thinking positive and thinking more opportunity than challenge, but still those fears are probably the biggest hurdles if I look back.
So they slowed you down, or they just made it uncomfortable?
It's a good question. Probably uncomfortable, maybe sometimes slow down a little bit. I think for my last career switch, probably slowed it down a little bit, but okay. I think not more interesting. At the same time, your second part of the question is what made you grow? That's certainly people. Yeah. It's people that believe in you.
Yeah.
And those are a lot of people. I think in the first place, it's my life partner, Julie, who brings always the mirror every day and that believes in you. It's a set of mentors that you there's a lot of people that I can luckily call and ask for advice and ask for advice a lot the last 6 months as well. All the bosses or managers that I worked for and as consultant, probably had more than 30 of them. You always observe good elements, less inspiring elements, but that's always a learning experience and it always makes you grow. I think tough situations make you grow, making mistakes and then seeing that more as let's learn from it, make you grow.
Okay. If you look back, what were maybe the 3 major milestones in your life that made you change directions?
Wow. I think I would say the first one is when we went to New York, being I think 26 or 27, with Julie, my life partner. It was always a dream for her to. She's an architect, engineer architect, to do urbanism, and to go there. And I followed, and I had the opportunity to work there in a completely different culture in different states in New York, and that makes you experience a very different way. Makes you also appreciate Belgium much more.
Okay.
We could talk very long about that, but that's certainly a life experience that was very important to me. The second one certainly is the birth of our daughter Emily, who is now nearly 7 years old. That's a life changer, and seeing her grow, learning from her as well is a continuous milestone, I would say. But from that day, you become a little bit of a different person. And then maybe thirdly, a more recent one, I would say. This whole year was for me an important moment where I realized a couple of blind spots I had due to a situation that a little bit of the things too much. We went through some tougher personal moments. I was working for Euroclear in a very intense culture, very different culture. And then at the same time, we have Wappy. And I felt inner tension because the cause of who you are, my why, is really Wappy. And then you feel sometimes inner tension with the other time you spend. And I think for me, the moment of realization of let's not opportunistically do all of these things at the same time. Let's really focus and take one.
Make a choice.
Make a choice. Indeed, make a choice is incredibly liberating or freeing. So in that way, I still thank Corona sometimes.
I think lots of people kind of thank Corona. And you mentioned that word when we had conversations prior to this, that freedom, entrepreneurship and freedom, having made the choice, it takes all the tension away and it makes you feel free. I think that's really...
And free, you can I felt in my previous life 100% free in organizations as well. It's not that you have to be, I think, an entrepreneur per se. Entrepreneurship, it's for me all the same. Being free means that you can act 100% who you are, and you're not squeezed into a certain box of who you are not. And then it's tougher to be free also of mind.
Free of mind.
And I think that's an important realization for myself.
Okay. Let's talk about HR. When Lisbeth Claus and I wrote ZigZagHR together, we really wanted to break the mold as well. We strongly agreed that the 21st century of work and worker really requires us to move away from traditional HR. I think we kind of agree there. And we need to rethink, reboot, and retool HR. What is your perception on HR? Because we feel that the mindset for another way of doing HR is there, but the structures are not really there. So what is your perception on HR, having been in HR, but also outside of HR in your career?
Well, first, it's only my perception, of course. I'm not going to make any big claims. I think a lot of what you say, it's a very exciting time to be in HR. It will always be, I think, an exciting time to be in HR. So we're very lucky, firstly. I think in HR, we don't always dare enough to take real action. I think we are sometimes a bit, maybe, I don't know, slow is maybe not the right word. I think a lot of us have the same cause. We have the same belief in where we want to go. And for some reason, it takes a lot of time to go there, because I think we are sometimes a bit listening too much to the 5% and not to the 95% who really want to go there.
Okay.
And I think the biggest thing is, in HR, who do we really serve? Do we serve really the people in the workforce? Or do we sometimes serve more only HR and management? And I think both are complementary. It's not to say you need to decide for one or the other. But I think we need to dare sometimes to go a little bit faster.
Yeah. Go a little bit faster. And is it maybe also that HR really needs to get out of traditional ways of thinking, but to get out of maybe a comfort zone of you say they are too slow. Sometimes it feels as if people think they are stuck.
Slow indeed. I don't think slow is the right word. Now that I think, it's confidence. Confidence that actually, as HR, we know where we want to go.
Yeah.
We have the skills to go there. Let's actually go there. Okay. And the last 12 months, I think, have helped us to go there. Why do we need to wait for those external triggers? There are so many other triggers. If you actually really listen to the people in the workforce, they're like waving already years for us. Yeah. And that's, I think, what I mean. Let's have the confidence and the energy to do it, and to also role model ourselves.
Okay. And what kind of people do you think we need more or maybe less in HR teams or in HR functions? Do we need more specialists? Do we need more people from outside of HR that come from a business side? Or maybe do we need marketeers? Everybody says we need marketeers in HR, but lots of other profiles.
I believe very much in diversity in that aspect. A diversity, and then also really including the people who come, and not just for the sake of diversity. And so I think, if I think about the two CHROs I worked for, Solvay and Euroclear, they both were not coming from HR.
Wow.
At Solvay, Cécile was 20 years in marketing and sales. Euroclear, Daniel also came from a different background. And the most inspiring HR colleagues that I've worked with, that I have seen, some come from HR, perfectly fine, but they have some sort of feeling, I think, also with the business from other areas. And I think diversity just brings the best out of everybody. Different ideas together, going for it, that reality check, not being stuck too much with the traditional ways. That's what I really believe in.
Not being in that kind of bubble of peers that all think alike and act alike. You need diversity.
And in that diversity, you will always need experts, of course.
Yes.
We need experts. Take compensation and benefits. It's a very expert domain. The mix of expertise plus outside ideas, I think, brings the best out of it. And that's for HR. It's also for other functions, by the way.
True.
Certainly.
True. Okay. Is there some kind of final message or takeaway that you really want to share with everybody that will be watching or listening? Something you're eager to share?
That's another good question, Leslie. I think dare, go for it, action. I'm personally, I like action. I like to, once you're clear, you go for it, and you go for it 100%, all in, all out. I think let's do that. Let's do that together. We're all there to help each other. I think that's also always nice. It's always what I like with HR. We're there to help each other. We're not competitors. Even HR from different companies. In the end of the day, we all want the same cause. We want our employees to be at their best, to feel at their best. Let's do that even more.
All right. Okay. Dare, take the action, help each other, take the leap, I guess, just like you took the leap.
Trying to.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bruce, for this inspiring conversation. I surely wish you all the best with Wappy. I don't think that will be a problem. Thank you for listening or for watching. Next week, we'll be talking about learning and development. And then I have two guests. I have Tom Boyen from Carrefour and Indira Oliver, who works at FlowSpark. So be sure to tune in on this channel if you're eager for more. Did you like this episode? Please leave us a comment or give us a like, because that way our community can keep on growing. And what you should never forget, it's a great time to be in HR. See you next week.